Okay, so the main ways to build speed is through direct and indirect training. Now, your direct training is actually going out and sprinting. So it's you going to a field or to a track or wherever and actively just sprinting. Now, indirect work is building the body's strength, power, capabilities so that when you sprint, you can produce, because through that, if you can produce more force, your muscles are stronger, and if your muscles are stronger and you produce more force, you are faster, you are more powerful, you can sprint, you can run faster, jump higher, cut quicker. These are the exercises that I do to become faster. Now, these exercises focus on specific elements like your ground contact time, which means like how much time do you take when you step onto the ground. This is a key factor in terms of speed, because less time on the ground means that you are going to be moving faster. Another one, single leg strength. Now, when you're sprinting, most of the time you are on a single leg. In fact, all of the time, not even most of the time, all of the time. One leg is going to come down, one foot's going to touch the ground, the other leg is up. And speaking of that, when one leg is touching the ground and the other leg is up, there is a literal factor called the isometric factor, which is basically as your foot touches the ground and one knee is driven up, there's a small fraction where your body stays still. It's like a few seconds, you won't even notice it, but there's a small factor like that, and you need to work on your isometric strength so that that change and that transition when your body becomes still can become faster. Because if it becomes faster and your muscles are stronger, you will then be able to produce more force and become faster when that transition time happens. Now, you'll notice that this transition a lot, and it'll kick in with change of direction as factor, because if you can improve that factor, and you'll get straight into the drills now. Now, this first drill, the lat hop to push, this is a drill I've been working on recently, and what it does is when you shuffle back as a striker, for example, and you need to just shuffle back slightly to keep yourself onside, and you burst in to make a run in behind. This is what this drill is focusing on. That landing is your foot landing back, and then when you're jumping on the opposite leg, it's just that horizontal force production movement to start sprinting. That's what this drill is all about. It's about basically simulating that little drop and a sprint, and it was just a nice drill to get that going, and it's going to help you work on that isometric factor. Now, this is purely just to simulate that movement, and it's a fantastic way to get the body used to when I'm getting into that step, my body has certain protocols in place, as in it keeps balance, and then as it keeps balance, I can be able to push off and get into that sprint. It's basically about building those capacities in your body. Now, with broad jumps, this is much more simple. What we're doing here is just building our body's capacity to be able to produce force in the horizontal movement pattern. Now, when we're sprinting, it's the same movement pattern. So this translates to, it's not the same movement specifically, but it's the same movement pattern, meaning it's the horizontal movement pattern. So if we can produce more force doing certain actions in this pattern, when we sprint, our bodies will have the capacity to be able to produce more force when it's time. Now we're getting more to the strength factor. Now, single leg work is the staple of building speed and power, because when you're sprinting, you're always on a single leg. Always. Like I said before, there's always that little transition where you change legs, as in your left foot will go down, right knee drives up, and then the opposite. So with the, you could call it Bulgarian split squats or rear foot elevated squats, up to you, but what we're doing here is just building single leg strength. Now my left arm is up because I want to focus on the contralateral loading. Of course, I've got no weight there, but I'm just going body weight because I'm building my body strength capacity first. And simple, what you're going to do here is you're going to slowly, you make sure to keep your body upright, your head up, so that your posture is correct. And then you're just going to slowly lower down the one leg, keep that other leg stable, and you're going to fulfill all the necessary reps and sets, which will be down in the description below. Now this is fantastic for building hamstring, quad and glute strength, as well as your single leg balance, because that's a key factor in getting faster. The lateral lunge ISO holds, firstly, before I even get into it, ISO is just short for isometric. Isometric just means that you're going to hold a static position. There's going to be no muscle lengthening or shortening for time. So you're going to get into that still static movement position, hold it for 5 seconds, and then you're going to move up and drive up with your knee. Now this also relates to the drill I showed earlier, which I'll put on screen now. You can see the lateral lunge is just purely to help this movement here, that little isometric movement when your left leg is down and you're holding that position, when you're changing direction, you're getting ready to accelerate. That is what the isometric work does. It helps to shorten that transition time, but also help your body to build more stability when you're changing direction, because if you're more stable, you can decelerate and accelerate quicker on the turn. That is the main factor. This is why we work on our isometric strength, to shorten that transition time between decelerating and accelerating on the turn. And this is purely how you can start building your body's capabilities of producing more force. And like I said at the beginning, if your body can produce more force, you will become faster. That is the key factor. Now, there is one more thing I wanted to speak about, and something I will make a drill about as well. There's a specific factor I like to call footballer speed. Now this is working on accelerating, decelerating, turning with the ball. As you can see, a lot of the times here I've got Osman Dembele here. A lot of the times he's receiving the ball, then he starts accelerating with it. I'm going to make a YouTube video on specific drills.